Nikki, well, okay, so I'm going to do an intro. I was like, I'm just going to conversate, but no, we're going to do an intro.
Do it. You do you.
Nikki Arensman is here with me today. And I love to just preface with how I know you. We've known each other 10 years, I think.
Long time.
A long time. I know. We've been friends. And our husbands met first surfing. Right? Did they meet surfing?
So.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. That's what I was
just
thinking.
remember Matt being like, I have this friend, David Hand. And
Yeah.
you would really like his wife. Okay.
And Matt was a baby when we met him. He was like in his early 20s.
Well, yeah, because he must have been like 22.
Yeah,
like
he was
young.
young.
22, 23.
He was definitely a baby. I remember thinking that because we're a little bit older than he is.
He's an old soul, though. All his friends are a little older.
Shout out to Matt. We love you, Matt. But I do have to tell you, and maybe before, I don't know. So the timing of this might be debatable, but I was in yoga class and breathe salt in Jupiter. And I remember people talking about these leggings and or maybe, like I was like, where did you get those leggings? And someone told me that it was a local girl that was, making these leggings. And I was like, I need to meet her. Like, I was just thinking in my head, like, that sounds like a cool chick. And like, I need to meet her.
Yeah.
So these leggings were like cool prints, bright colors and kind of that, like that fabric that you could get wet.
Like
we were
bathing
doing
suit.
like bathing suit material. Exactly. And so I feel like I've always kind of had this intuition about my people that I become good friends with.
Yeah.
And I felt like as soon as I heard like this local girl's like doing these leggings, whatever, I was like, I need to meet her. And then I think, my husband came home and said, I met this cool guy and, and then it was like, is that the same person? Maybe that's the same person. And it was, of course.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how we came together. But I want you to kind of tell us, because that was, you were a baby then too, when you created.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
I was 23 when we started Jiva, I think. So it was called Jiva. And like one step back was my background was in design, not necessarily textile, but I was in graphic design. And when I figured out that was what I loved to do, it really clicked for me. It was like, oh, I could do this for the rest of my life. And I still feel that way. And so I didn't ever really stick to oh, well, I only do digital graphics or this. I sort of was once I knew had an eye for design, I sort of just let it take me wherever. So I ended up doing scarf designs for a while for this woman that my best friend growing up had worked for her in more of the sales aspect, and they needed a designer. She had a scarf manufacturing facility overseas, and they needed a designer slash sales slash it was like an all hands on deck job. And that was where I first learned how to do repeat patterns and nothing that I had ever learned in my education of graphic design. So I kind of knew how to do it. While I was in that job, I realized I really kind of wanted to be back down in Florida, where my mom was. I was in New Jersey and working in New York. So I was working in the city and doing that hustle, wake up early, bus in, walk to the office. And it was dark. By the time I got up in the morning, it was dark. By the time I got home, it was dark. And
what was the commute?
I'm missing the light of day here. I would wake up, get on the bus, go. I lived in a town called West New York, which is actually in New Jersey, right on the north side of the tunnel.
Confusing.
Opposite
A little
of Hoboken. So if anyone's listening, they'll be like, oh yeah, very weird though. Lived in West New York, but it was
which is actually New Jersey. Okay, check.
So get on the bus every morning, pay my $1.50 in through the tunnel, would get dropped off, walk 15 blocks. I worked right near the Empire State Building. and I was just working there, and I knew that I wasn't gonna like do that forever, but it was like wonderful at the time. Like it was just, you're in New York City. I was in my like early 20s. Like it was amazing, So
Very Sex in the City. I can
totally,
imagine.
yeah, all the things, like all of that. So needless to say, I came down and visited. My mom and my sister and brother lived here, and I was like, dang, I really kind of need to just like get here and be with them. And I'm waking up, it's dark out, I'm getting home, it's dark out. Like I'm just like, and they're like at the sandbar and like at the beach, and I'm like, what? I am doing this all wrong. So to make a long story short, I ended up like coming down here, really not having a job, but I had found Kula Yoga Shala, owned by Scott Feinberg in Jupiter. And I met him, and I was like, I think I'm going to like just take a pause and do my teacher training. And I'll just freelance graphic design. So I packed everything up, moved down here, and did my yoga teacher training. And while I was in my teacher training, I was like freelancing graphic design, but also was like, hey, I really kind of like, I wish I knew the moment that I was like, I'm going to start this yoga line and it's like going to become something, but I really like didn't. I actually was just like, I don't have a ton of money. I want to wear these like cool yoga pants, and they're like $100 a piece, and like it's never going to happen. But I've always just been like an entrepreneurial spirit. Even that job I was working in New York, I had like a tiny little Etsy shop, and I would make like chapsticks and these like little graphic cards, and I would pour all the chapsticks into the tubes. I made the labels, and like I sold them, and I had this little Etsy shop.
Oh my gosh, I love this. So I love that I like learned something new about you, because I never knew about the chapstick. That's amazing.
Yeah. So my dog's name was Chloe, and it was called Chloe Naturals. And like that was I think I like recently shut the store down, like not that long ago.
I was gonna say we should resurrect that.
Yeah, I know. So I came here. I sort of was like, okay, I'm in this yoga training. Like I want to make these. I literally like went to like Joann's Fabric, which maybe had like one stretchy fabric. I bought like the one stretchy fabric, went to Walmart, got a sewing machine, like went on YouTube and learned how to make leggings. I like took apart a pair of leggings I had, cut them up, and like laid them out, made a pattern, and it sort of just evolved from there. That whole time I was documenting all of that. So I was like, I had an Instagram and I started like putting them on there. I like whipped up a little like website real quick.
What year was this?
This was like 2013.
Okay.
It was. It was 2013. I moved here in August of 2013 to Florida, and basically launched Jiva like November.
Oh, you're like not wasting any time.
No, there was no time.
You're like, I'm going to figure this out.
I'm still that way. I'm still like, if I have an idea, like I'm going to just do it.
Yeah. I admire that about you. That's one of the things that I'm like, Nikki she's just inventive, and if I think I have an idea, I feel like I always run it past you. Like, what do you think about this? Like podcast, I was like, what do you think about this?
I was
like
all in on the podcast. No. I do feel like I've gotten a little slower now that I have kids. Like
2 babies.
Yeah. But even before my second, like even with just Squirrel, like over the last like handful of years, she's 6. So like over the last 6 years, like I am a little slower to moving on an idea, but I still am like, that's only because of time.
Yeah.
It's not because I'm not like, I know when I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this.
So let me ask you this. Did you know how to sew? Did you even know how to sew?
No, not at all.
No. And you were like, this is what I'm going to go do. I'm going to learn how to sew.
I didn't know how to sew at all. I fully learned like on YouTube. I also,
it's amazing.
Like Jiva leggings were not there was no finished hem on the ankle. And that was because I did not know how to sew. And I could not figure it out. And I was like, it's fine. Like, we're just going to.
That's right. It was kind of a raw edge, right?
Which like became the thing.
Yeah.
I think that we did. So once we started sewing them, and I say we, my sister Remy was living with me at the time, and we just like, I just like pulled her in, and like she learned how to sew, and it was both of us just like sewing and doing this. And
because how old was Remy?
Together.
How old was Remy at that
she's
point?
4 years younger than me.
Yeah,
so
she's
she was young. She was like 19 maybe.
Crazy.
20,
Crazy.
Yeah, maybe 19 or 20.
Yeah. Young Remy.
Young Remy, yeah. She's like totally go-getter also. But yeah, so taught her how to sew, but the scarf company that I worked for, just to like finish off this loop,
Love it.
that was where I learned about manufacturing and factories. And because it was such a small team, like I was designing, I was also communicating with the factory and making sure samples were good and blah, 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 all the things. So when I started Jiva and started sewing, I quickly was like, okay, I'm not sewing 900 pairs of leggings. Like that's not going to happen. And it was moving fast. Like we were like putting out a print and it was gone. And I'm like, we can only sew like 10 of these, you know? So it was like, I feel like I saw it. I knew it was going to like be a thing. And I quickly was like, all right, we need manufacturing. And I knew how to talk with them. I knew the like jargon of manufacturing and product development because of that job. So I quickly we found a manufacturer in Miami who would like give us a chance, and just dove in with him and did like the first run of leggings. And
how many did you like sell? Like what was the biggest amount in the beginning that you sold and you were like, okay, this is really...
Our first run I think was 900 pairs of leggings, and it was like 8 prints or 9 prints and like 100 pairs of each, and then broken down into sizes. But the way manufacturing works is like if you have one pattern and one SKU, like you can then say there is a minimum of a 500 or 900 or whatever it was, like you can split that up between prints.
Okay.
Between fabric, because it's the same sew process for them. You know what I mean? So you're not like, they don't have to change things. It's just running a new fabric in. So we just had the same fabric, different patterns. I was not even designing the patterns at this time. We were buying stock printed fabric. And we pre-sold them. So it was like we designed them, had the line sheet, put it out there, and they were gone before we even got them in our hands. When we got them, then we just shipped them, and it was like rinse and repeat. Like, okay, take all that money, put it back into more, you know. And then, like, by the time once Jiva got to like a more expanded place, and we were now a couple years in, like we were doing probably like, a couple thousand. Like
I feel like
thousands.
you would go to any yoga class in Palm Beach County and you would see the leggings.
I still see them sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, how did that make you feel? I feel like that would make me feel so good. And
I think really good. I mean, it was weird, but also really exciting. And not that I would change anything, but I felt like at the time, like I didn't really own it that we were like doing this and we were sisters and we were building this, and like it was amazing. And like more like business savvy Nikki now, like there are the things that I would have owned now that I didn't then. Like we would go to trade shows and it's like I would want to be wearing like something not Jiva. I'm like, why, you know, like why weren't we just like owning that we had this like such incredible product that was really like, it was a timing thing, you know, like yoga pants and yoga influencers and social media and building a following on Instagram and influencer marketing was nothing like what it is now. I mean, we would give a yoga teacher who had a following from doing yoga on Instagram, like gift her like 2 pairs of leggings and they would be sold out before like the second she posted them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
you were
we
like
didn't
a
even pay
pioneer.
them. Like they were just taking product. It was so different than it is now. So yeah, it was amazing and I loved it. And Remy and I will like look at each other and be like, should we just like try and buy it back?
I know. I was thinking that. So you sold it.
We sold it
For multi-dollars. You don't have to say, but it was.
No, we didn't.
But
I
think for, you're so young, you created this amazing product and business that women still wear. They still love those leggings and like soak that in, like, take that in what you guys did. I just think it's incredible. And I always have just admired that.
Thank you.
You guys did that. So I think it's
I
really cool.
appreciate it. It was amazing. I would do things a little differently now. I wouldn't like change. We were babies, like we just said,
babies.
it's like, I know that like people who are very successful in life with multiple businesses, it's typically not the first one that is the thing that like took off for them.
Mm-hmm.
But like I would sell it for a lot more than we did. Like, if I knew, I didn't have a mentor. I didn't like coaches were not really like a thing. Like the online space of business coaches and marketing coaches and like mentors was not like something that little me who had this like yoga line I wasn't like privy to that then. It wasn't like readily available the way that it is now.
Yeah.
So like, in hindsight, I mean, I was like reaching out to like the town small business commission to like try and like find someone who was a mentor. And we like got connected with this like 75-year-old man who was in like manufacturing in New York, like 45 years ago.
Oh,
like
how funny.
He knew nothing about marketing and social media and brand growth. Like, it was like, there was no mentor.
And today you could find somebody probably through social media, send them a DM and be connected within seconds, which is, it just, you were ahead of your time.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit on the previous episode with Jess over here about YouTube. And I got to say, Nikki was featured on my YouTube as well.
Oh, yes.
Remember that?
Yes.
We recorded like a whole yoga series.
Oh, we got eaten by mosquitoes so badly.
Oh my God. No, not we. You did.
I did.
I was like, I am so sorry. Like we were in my backyard around my pool and set up. We had lights, camera, action, and you got eaten alive by mosquitoes.
You were ahead of your time with that. Like that was not really happening a lot then.
No, it wasn't. I know. It's kind of funny. Now I'm going to have all these people going to my old YouTube, but we had a ton of fun doing that. We both wore Jiva.
Wasn't it fun?
Fresh Fit Fearless. Yeah. Which I still think
you're still fresh fit and fearless.
trying to hang on. But we had fun. I remember that was good times.
But imagine if like TikTok was then and that's what we were on and it was just like we were making these short, quick like videos. I mean, I don't even have TikTok now, but like, you know what I mean? There was like the traction wasn't there at the time the way that it is now.
Totally.
Yeah, it's just kind of funny.
Trailblazers.
Yeah. All of you little TikTok minions.
I know. Like we were doing that, a lot, like 10 years ago at least. Yeah, at least 10 years ago. So, okay, so you sell Jiva and were you married?
Yes.
Okay,
I was pregnant.
You were pregnant. Okay. So you have, now you have 2 babies, but before you had your second baby, you kind of pivoted. After the sale of Jiva, you got into branding. So tell me a little bit about that. Like, how did you think, I mean, you obviously created such a successful brand for yourself. So did you just think like, this is the obvious next step for me or like?
Well, selling Jiva was kind of like I was pregnant. I was like, I feel like this isn't the thing forever. Like now might be the time to sell it. So we went through with that. And then I did take a little time off, like almost a whole year of sort of figuring out like, well, how to be a mom. Also newly married, how to be a wife.
Yeah.
And then then I started to break down. I'm still figuring out both of those things. So it's not like I got it and then figured out. Yeah, then I was like, okay, I got to work. Like, what am I going to do next? And I enjoy like working and making money, and being creative is like very fulfilling for me. So I was thinking like, what's kind of next for me? So I sort of started breaking down like, what did I love about Jiva so much? And there was a lot of parts of the business. Anyone who is running a small business like on their own, basically, like you end up doing a lot of things that don't fulfill you and that you don't love. Which I do think like then leads to a lot of burnout and exhaustion and or maybe just dissolving a business. And I was at that point of like, okay, I don't love all of this. I'm doing a lot of numbers and things that are not exciting to me. And so I knew that I loved the designing. I loved the creative parts of it. I actually loved like selling and like connecting with these other retailers. We did a lot of wholesale. So like connecting with these other business owners, so I was thinking, okay, I love connecting with our clients. Well, what is it about our clients? Well, they weren't really the consumers. Like I enjoyed that part a little bit, but I liked they had a business and we were helping their business grow. And so kind of through that process, I then was like, okay, I think I want to work with other business owners, other women, helping them build their businesses. What's that, And so I then sort of dabbled in branding and business coaching, and it did more land on the branding end of things and brand strategy, because then I looked at like what made Jiva successful and what did I love about that. And that was a lot of like the messaging and the things looking and feeling a certain way, I've always been like, if I'm, looking for let's just use leggings, I'm looking for like activewear line, and I go on one website or social media and it looks this way, and I go on another one and it looks this way. Like I'm going to go with the one that I feel looks like they care about what they're putting out there.
Yes.
And they care about what people are going to think about them when they come onto their, online presence. And to me, that's all branding. So I just sort of went that route and really got back to my roots of graphic design, of brand identity design. And so then I started working one-on-one with clients. And in that one-on-one design process, then they had 1,000 questions about marketing and social. And so then I, had online courses, and all that stuff was really kind of becoming a thing. So that's when I started doing, like, I had a little social media course, and then I was like, I don't love that. Like, okay, let's get more into like brand strategy. And I think that's really when kind of things sort of took off. Yeah.
Because with Jiva, to go back to that, you did create such a vibe, and I think that's absolutely what I'm drawn to, is like the vibe of something. Like what are they trying to achieve here? And am I into that vibe, Right. So I feel like you were the perfect person to help other people try and discover what their vibe is. What is their culture? Like, what do they stand for? And you helped me too with my logo and my website. And
and like, to your point, I think there's a lot of I always speak to the online space because I feel like that sort of has taken over. Like, small businesses have been around forever. People have been building vibes before vibes was like a word, and it was just in person, So I've always looked at like brand building in the online space. Like, what would that look like if the online space wasn't there? So someone walks into your storefront, your restaurant, your podcasting facility, like, what are they going to feel there, And are they going to tell other people about it? And are they going to want to come back and shop? And like, are they going to communicate with the employees there? Like, what's that communication and connection look like? I think a lot of that was like lost in the when things really shifted online, because there wasn't that in person like responsibility that needed to be held. So it was like, I'm just going to grab this like crappy little logo. And I do think there's a time and place for that, but like it could still look and feel, it doesn't have to be expensive. You don't have to pay a lot, but the vibe like still kind of needs to be there.
Agree.
Totally. And so I think a lot of that like in person, like what would have really been cared about was like sort of thrown out the window. And it was like, let me just grab these fonts and this, and none of it even goes. And then like, I'm going to like expect to like be successful. And it's like, I don't feel like there was longevity to that.
Yeah.
So in my like branding stuff, I really kind of always try to bring it back to like, if somebody's going to come to your Instagram or your YouTube channel or, you know, your website, like how can we make this feel like if they were there, if they were like walking in person? And I always feel like that was sort of like that's always been my like sort of path. And there's so many different, you know, avenues someone could take with branding or with social. But like for me, it was always that. I was always feeling like, how can we make this very personable and very much you? And the other thing with like the online world of all of that is like, you're constantly like, when we walk in a store, like we're not walking into 10 stores at one time, and we're not coming in this store and that one and digesting what everyone's doing in these different places. But online, it is that way. You're a swipe away from being on the next person's page and the next person's presence. And now you're soaking in like what they're doing. And then suddenly you're in this like downward spiral of like, you don't even know what your vibe is. Right. Because now you've like soaked in like 10 people's vibes in a matter of 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's so true.
So I'm always like, how can we get back to like, what's your store? Like, what's your presence, you know, or your like that you're wanting to create, so that when somebody connects with you, like they don't want to leave 5 seconds into being there.
I feel like you're really good. You're very in tune with yourself in particular, but you also, I feel like, have this really great ability to kind of tap into somebody else's situation, you know, and say like, I feel like, even you'll say like, I feel like you're kind of like this. And I'm like, yes, that's what it is. That's what I am. Like you pinpointed it, you know? So I love that, because ultimately you're helping people. Now, were you primarily working with women when you were doing the branding? Yeah. I feel like it was like kind of women focused, which I loved. So you're helping.
I would have men here and there, but like I feel like, again, like all my messaging and what I could connect to and like my storefront was very like female driven.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So you're like helping women find, you know, a lot of them moms, right? Like finding their voice, finding what their thing is, how to, you know, best like
put themselves out there, find the time to do, and like, it's a lot of just encouragement and confidence building. I have continually looked at branding as a confidence booster. Like you want to show up looking okay, good, feeling good, whatever that looks like for you. Like you want to show up feeling good, looking good. You wouldn't show up to a networking event or a sales event or a trade show or whatever it is, like not feeling 100% or looking the way you want to look or unshowered or whatever it is, you know? And branding is all of that. It is the wardrobe of your business. Like it is the way that people are going to look at you and perceive your business and make an impression, because we're all going to make an impression. Like we're all going to make a decision about someone's business pretty immediately. I don't think we have a choice anymore. Like I think it's like
it's quick,
second nature now. And you want people to like get you really quickly. So your branding should be representative of you. And I do think like, even if like, I don't always feel 100% confident in the course that I was putting out there. I didn't always feel 100% ready and have every single duck in a row and, every T and I taken care of, like, and, every piece was not always there, but like when I put it out there, it looked like it and it felt like it. And like, that was branding.
Yeah.
And so for women who are starting a business or who are just getting started, who don't feel, and maybe you're not just getting started and you've been doing this, but you're taking a pivot and you're starting something new or trying out a different direction in your business and you don't feel 100% yet, like you can look 100%.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, like looking 100% goes a really long way. To have confidence to even put yourself out there. And so I just think like branding is like, it's colors and it's fonts and it's logos and graphics and it's all those things that like are tangible. And then there's this whole other like non-tangible element that is like confidence boosting.
Yeah.
To feel like good enough to even step out there, to show up on the camera, to create an Instagram, to like do a webinar or to host an in-person gathering or a retreat or like whatever it is,
Yeah. Whatever the thing you want to do is like.
Yeah. You even like, I was saying about like a restaurant or a store, like you walk into a restaurant or a store on like opening night and like, I'll tell you what, like back of house, like maybe a shit show.
Yeah.
But front of house, like we look good.
Yeah.
And we look like we know what we're doing and it gets better and better every time. And like it gets easier and easier every time and your branding will refine, but showing up confident is like the first step. And that like, I feel like that comes a lot or can come a lot from branding, especially people who don't innately just have confidence. Because some do, some people are like, I don't care what that looks like. Like, I'm good. I'm here. I know my stuff. This is what I'm doing. But some people don't feel that way.
I think the majority probably don't feel that way, right? Like confidence is a muscle that you have to work on and build. And I know that. And I feel like you gave me some good advice one time. You said, Kimberly, progress over perfection. Like put it out there maybe before you're ready and just, and it's going to look great and nobody's going to know that it's not 100% perfect, but me, and I am like a recovering perfectionist. So that was like
You've come a really long way.
I have come a really long way because I want to overthink it. I want to like, I mean, from two girls that work with me and know, Jess is here in the room too. Yeah, you guys know because I'm like, oh God. And here I've got notes and I probably haven't even looked at the notes, but like it's got to be all, situated. So the progress over perfection, put yourself out there before you're ready, build that confidence muscle, get out there, like do the thing and have good branding so that you do look like you're 100%, even if there's something crazy going on, in the back of the house, so to speak. But, so let me ask you this, since you have like helped people feel confident in your clothing that you were making, in the branding that you were providing, like what makes Nikki Arensman feel the most confident? Yeah.
I mean, I like say this humbly, but I do feel like I am one of those people who like, I do have like if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Like I don't hang out very long in like I'm not sure if this is going to work town. I'm like, I like drive through there pretty quickly.
Yeah. You bolt. You're like, okay.
I'm like, okay, we're on the move.
Yeah.
But, sometimes I think like this feels like very like to say, but like sometimes I feel like I just know. I'm like, oh, like this is gonna work. Like I see the need for this, or I see the industry as a whole. I've done enough industry research or like whatever quick research, I've done it, and I can see like there's an entire gap for this. Like this is gonna work.
So would you say it's kind of like a gut instinct or your
Definitely.
intuition?
Yeah,
Okay,
like definitely.
okay.
Like it's an intuitive thing. It's like definitely a gut instinct.
Does this happen? Okay, I want to dive into this a little bit more because I feel like
in life all the time.
Yeah. Well, like I think everyone should kind of tap into their intuition more. And that's something that I've tried to do more. Like at the gut feeling, is it like yes or no? So are you like meditating and then you feel like you come to a clear conclusion, or like what does that look like for you? I'm just curious.
Yeah, it is. So I wouldn't say that I'm not like sitting down and like meditating on this idea.
I'm like, tell me what you're wearing.
Yes.
Are you like,
I'm never like,
are you comfortable?
I'm
Are you
in
laying
my
down,
mind,
sitting down?
So in my mind right now, I'm thinking like, I'm never like sitting with my legs crossed, hands in a mudra. Like,
Right.
okay,
Okay.
I'm meditating on this thing, which I'm not saying that I shouldn't be doing that. Like I've never been like this, I think is like a lifelong, like I've never been a studier. I wasn't great in school. I didn't have the focus to sit down and like read this and understand it and then like go and take a test and do well. And I think that like that translated well into entrepreneurship because I'm sort of like, I'm going to wing it. And I'm just going to do the best that I can do at this. And like, sometimes I just get a gut instinct that I'm like, I'm going to figure this out. In school, you couldn't figure it out. You either took the test and passed or you didn't. Like there was no like time to like, well, it could be done this way. Like where in entrepreneurship there is, like you can kind of be like, okay, like I'm going to like show up looking real good and I'm going to figure this out.
Yeah.
So now, like with ideas, like I work out a lot. And so I think I get a lot of clarity, like sweating is like sort of, I'm like, okay, like,
I love that.
Yeah, like sometimes that's my meditation is like, I get lost in a workout and I leave that workout. Like I'll go on my computer and spend the next, like the whole nap time,
2 hours,
like
3 hours.
yeah, like the whole nap time, like doing it and building it. Like we're working on something at Third Eye right now, which we can talk more about that.
Yes,
but like
I love that.
I've like that's been like okay, it's like we're ready. Let's do it. Like
I
it's
love
like
it.
2 weeks, the site's built, we're done. Let's go.
Which you guys as a family, let's just say, so Third Eye Studio is
My sister,
your sister Remy's. It is the facials, tattooing.
Yeah, it's primarily like a tattoo and permanent makeup like studio.
Okay.
And we have piercing and we have facials and esthetician and all, like lots of different things.
So, okay, so the piercing. So
Yeah.
Nikki is now doing high-end piercing at Third Eye. And I remember we were on a walk and you were like, I'm going to do piercing. I'm going to like learn how to do this.
Weird to say.
I know. And I think I was probably taken aback, like, really? Because like yet again, you are reinventing yourself and doing something kind of completely different. And I was like, okay, this is awesome, but tell me about like how that evolved, because
Yeah, I feel like
so
this
interesting.
is kind of what we were just talking about, like the intuition type of thing is like, I feel like I always know when, not that I know, but I get like bubbling up in me. Of
Like a download.
Yeah,
maybe,
it's like a download.
Yeah.
And actually like just going back to what we were talking about, like I used to get them when I'd be putting Coral to sleep. So I'd be in her room. She was man, that girl, she's still like not a great sleeper. We're working on it.
Same with my son.
Yes, but like when she was really little, so like I had sold the business. She was like 1-2 years old. I was still like kind of rocking her to sleep, and it'd be dark in the room. The sound machine would be on. I'd be like, I hadn't even eaten dinner yet. So it's not like I was going to sleep yet.
Yeah.
But I would be rocking her like in the dark, singing to her, and sort of like not like in and out of sleep, but like in and out of just like, I'm laying there with her, I'm rocking her. And in almost like a meditative state.
Yeah.
And I would I would get all these ideas, all different things. Like that was how I decided on courses I was going to do, the next thing in branding I was going to do, the next thing to talk about, podcast episode, like all sorts of things would come during that.
So it's funny that you say that, because I have never really made that connection, but I feel like I have the same thing happening because my son is not a great sleeper either. And I'm always laying down with him, and it's quiet time. I'm telling him, no, it's time to shut your eyes and calm down and let's not talk. And so then I'm laying there for, sometimes almost an hour, which I love every second. But yeah, it is kind of you quieted your mind for a little bit and the ideas start to flow.
There's nothing else to think about.
Yeah.
Other than whatever's coming into your head. When else do I don't get an hour and a half to meditate.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have that time right now.
Yeah. I love that.
So it was always then. And then obviously like this season of childhood changed and I wasn't doing that anymore. So then I feel like it moved into like workouts and, things. But I will say like, there was a good chunk of time. And even like now, like I'm still finding when is that time again? When is that time that I am totally quiet? There's nothing else to think about except be able to like when can I receive those downloads? Because they're not like gone into the ethers. Like they're still available, but like we have to be available to get them, So
settle the mind.
Yeah, so I think like working out, but the piercing thing came because the last year and a half, like with my online work, again, I got pregnant again. And I was like the same when I got pregnant with Coral. And I was like, all right, this business with Jiva, blah, blah, we got to figure out what we're doing. This isn't it, sell it. Got pregnant with Asher. And I was like, okay, this online thing, like I'm getting tired, like of just like the circle I was in the online space felt like very small. And I'm only seeing the same things. Like I was a little tired of looking at like, oh, so-and-so is making $30,000 from this launch in a day. I should be doing that. Like it was getting very like exhausting emotionally. And when I start to get like exhausted by the work environment and like, which was pretty much like Instagram and email marketing and like funnel building, like it felt very repetitive. Like I don't know why, but I like lose all creativity. Like it just sucks the life out of me. Yeah. So I sort of just took a little break from all of that, and I'm like in the process of dissolving that whole business because it still has been there, but I've slowly just closed down like one little part of it at a time. But I was really kind of like, okay, like what's next? And I think I'm always just like, what's next? For better or for worse. And I was helping out a little in Third Eye just with some branding things for the studio. And Remy was like, I feel like we get a lot of inquiries for piercing. Like we need to find like a piercer. And I was like, I think I like want to do it. I laughed because her and my mom were like, we like cannot picture you like holding a needle and like piercing someone.
I know, because I actually want to ask you, like the first person you pierced, were you like, oh God?
Oh, I was like not losing it, but I was like, I didn't start piercing and I was like, oh, I'm just like so ready for this. Like I was very ready. I get very, again, back to the whole like idea. I was having that hit like, oh, this is going to be good. Like this is going to be a good thing. And I'm like excited about this. And Matt, like my husband, is not like, he's always very supportive of like things, but not like, there's times when he's just like, okay, I don't know why you're doing that. But like, you know, like there's been like all my online stuff, like he's the most non-technology person, especially like online. Like the last 5 years, if you could have asked, like, what's your wife do? He would have been like, I don't know. She's on her computer. Sure. Like, I don't know. So when I brought up to him, I was like, hey, like Remy's like needs a piercer at the studio. Like, I think I'm going to do it. He was like, oh, I think that's amazing. Like, and I don't know if it's because it was like, he could, like, it was like a physical thing, and he's like, yes, show up, do the work, get paid, good.
Yes,
in his
that
mind,
makes sense.
like, I think it was like very, like, it made a lot of just sense to him. As like, yeah, that's a job.
Yeah, not all this crazy online.
And so I was like, all right, like, let's kind of do it. Let's do it. I'm going to try it. And she was kind of like, you know, I'm always grateful for her. We've sort of like, Remy and I have very like much bounced each other the last like 10 years, I feel like, of just like work and encouragement and confidence and supporting each other and like giving each other spaces to work and grow in our own, like, which has been like kind of amazing.
Like very special. I feel like for sisters to be able to work together like you guys do.
Yeah, I don't know why it's like making me like emotional, but it is. It's like,
I love that.
It is beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. Shout out to Remy because we love you, Remy. And obviously your sister loves you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is so special. And I see it. And don't think that other people don't notice it. Because I think when you walk in there, there's so much love there. And also mom is there too.
Mom's there too.
Mom.
And I always want to be like, oh, Remy's my sister. And sometimes I think she's like, stop saying that. Like,
well, you're like very proud of her. And that's amazing.
I am. I'm so proud of her. I'm so like grateful for her space. And it's been amazing for my mom too, to even like, she was in retail, which, you know, that's hard and it's long hours. And it's great that she's been able to just like do her own thing. Like we've all been able to like build our own businesses like within this space. And it's been awesome.
It's awesome.
But yeah, when Remy was like, okay, like, well, we have to like go and take this like state course and we all have to, and it was like in Sarasota, and like me, my mom, my sister, we brought my mom because we had to bring Asher because he was little, you know, and kind of like did all of that. And then I did a one-on-one, like sort of like apprentice training, a deep dive into like piercing and all the things and actually piercing. And so it was like a immersive experience where it was just like, you're just going to do it. Yeah. And so I thankfully had like friends who were like willing to like come in and like be my like piercing model.
Right.
And like let me just try things on them. And honestly, I like loved it. Like I was like, wow, it's been really fulfilling for me from just like from multiple avenues. One is like getting out of my house and like, you know, I have the 2 kids and Asher's little and it's been great to get away from the computer and get out of the house. I also like, just to touch on it, like when I had Coral, my daughter, like after she was born, I don't want to say I had like postpartum anxiety, but like I went through this like period of like, what the heck? What am I doing? I don't even.
What is life?
What is life? Literally,
what is life?
Like I just had so much. Like I remember the whole first 6 months was like a blur, and then like getting out of that, I was still just kind of like figuring out, like I was newly married. I was a new mom. I sold my business, which like Jiva, like you even said, like, oh, this girl leggings like really became such an identity for me. I was new in the area. I had just moved here. So it was like, I stripped everything and I was like, I don't know who I am.
Yeah.
And that was hard for me. So when I had Asher, I was like, I was almost scared to have a second child because I was like, I'm going to go through all of that again. Like, it's going to be so hard. I'm going to be just like in this funk for however long. And it was not that at all. Like I had such a different experience. If I could like freeze time where he is, I just would continue doing it.
He's the cutest. He's
but
so cute.
yeah, so like, having him, and then I was like figuring all this out again. And I really was kind of like, I want to set myself up for success. I want to be able to get out of the house a little bit. I want to like get in front, be able to have conversations with people and like, you know, and it'd be like back to working with some people in person, face to face. And so like piercing was just like, oh, let me like try it.
Yeah. Well, you're up close and personal with people.
Yeah, totally. And it checks all those boxes. Like I get to like be creative with people. I get to like, it's a confidence booster for them. I mean, I pierce little girls like 4 and 5 years old who are like so nervous, so anxious. Like they're like they don't even know what the word courage means, but they're like, or bravery, but like they're doing it, and I get to work with them on that. It's awesome. I pierce women who are, like cancer survivors and who are like doing something for themselves that they are finally like able to go and do and have maybe wanted since they were 20, but like didn't get the chance to do.
I love that.
I pierced like 70-year-old women who were like, oh, my husband passed and I'm just like, he never let me do this. And I'm finally I'm coming into my own now. I'm getting over grief. And I'm like, it's like, just so many different types of women.
Now, let me ask, what are they getting pierced?
Ears.
In their 70s.
I do like ears like and nose multiple. Is all I do.
Okay.
But they get like cartilage piercings. They get their third holes that they never like were able to get. Like, and they bring in their diamonds and it's just like the sweetest thing ever. And
you've got really great jewelry too that you...
All of that is really fun and creative also.
Yeah, super fun and beautiful.
And I get to work with other business owners, like other jewelry designers, and they're building their businesses and we're carrying their line. I'm on like the opposite end of the wholesale world that I was in. And it's really amazing. And it's been really fun and it's been busy and fulfilling and like, it's just
love it.
Really cool.
Again, I'm brimming with pride for you because
and it's totally out of my comfort zone. Like it's nothing that I ever did before.
Which I love. And also, again, not scared, super confident going into it and saying, I'm going to give this a shot. And then it turned out to be like, I think that's such a good message for anyone listening is like, it can be a little messy. It can be not the thing that you originally started doing. It doesn't have to be a forever thing. You can have kids, you can be a wife, you can have a lot on your plate, you can have a little on your plate, but just like go and do something that you wanted to do, just kind of try it. Sometimes
you just have to try things. I mean, if they don't work out, like I'm always okay with a plan B. Like, it's okay if something doesn't work out.
Like don't be so committed to the plan A, right? Yeah. And just be okay with things shifting and pivoting, I think is such a great message.
And you know what? Sometimes it's just like the thing that steps you through the door is not always the end result. Like I find all the time that like if I didn't, so we're building an education, like a beauty academy through Third Eye now, where people can come and do like in-person trainings and learn how to microblade and learn how to tiny tattoo and learn how to pierce, and which is sort of tying in all of my like online education stuff, but like in person. But I would have never like done any of that or learned about the weird nuances of the piercing industry and the tattoo industry and all of these things and how it has been like so hard for people to break into, especially women, like into these industries and learn and build a business. And it can be so lucrative and so time freeing, especially for moms, to be able to do this part-time and like make good money. But like, I would have never even considered or thought about any of that if I hadn't like just said, okay, like I'll learn and start to pierce and try it. So like, sometimes it's like try it and like universe, God, whatever, like has a plan for you and it's there and it's laid out, but like it does require us to step into something. It's not just gonna like land on our lap and like success is there. Like I do think all of those things have to come together, like your downloads, your gut instinct, some sort of inclination, and then like having the courage to try it. Maybe it doesn't work, but maybe something else is there that you never would have like been introduced to if you didn't start that.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, maybe if that's not even the thing, it'll lead you to the thing.
Yeah.
It's the way of the universe, and I love it. So just to wrap up, I just wanted to ask you, what is in your wellness toolbox? Like, what are a couple things that you rely on for your self-care?
Yeah. I wake up, like, it was reluctantly and now I like it, but like I wake up before everyone at typically like 6. My house is usually up at 7, so it's not like I'm not getting up at 4 for like my epic routine. Yeah. It's just like I wake up at 6 and I get out of bed and I work out. And right now my time is like I Peloton. I do the boot camp workouts, and I do the meditations too, because it's easy access for me right now. And it's like, I have to get one ready for school. The other one's going to wake up and have to give him situated while the other one's getting ready. So I try and get that done before everyone gets up. And I think that's like probably my most important part of my like self-care routine right now. Is doing that. And when I don't do it, I know I didn't do it and I feel that I didn't do it. I think food right now is big for me, like, and it's a work in progress, but like I notice like when I don't eat like a breakfast and a protein-filled breakfast, like my whole day is like sort of shot.
Yeah.
I just think my blood sugar's thrown. I think that like I'm off for lunch. If I eat lunch too late, then dinner's thrown off. Like, and I don't feel good when that happens to me. Like, so I think like keeping all of that organized is really important for me. I wish I could say I'm like journaling and meditating regularly right now, but I'm not.
And that's okay.
Yeah, it's just like my time is in these other areas at the moment, you know, but like my workout and my food, I also think a big part of my like self-care is the work I'm doing. Like I have this, and I understand this is coming from like a place of privilege, but like I have my mom, my mother-in-law, who are both so hands-on with my kids too, that right now it's like Asher gets to bed at 7, and like I put him down and went to dinner the other night, like with my mom,
feels good.
and like that felt so good. Like I'm now like, oh, I can get out and go to dinner with girlfriends or whatever, you know, like after
a little freedom. Yeah.
Like, and I think freedom is important. That's like a part of my self-care because it's keeping me mentally like in a really good place. Like there's like today, it's like I was able to schedule this. I know that like my son goes to my mom's on Thursdays and I work and I can build in my clients after doing something like this and I can grab lunch. And like, I didn't always have that. And it's been like I'm not good at asking for help, but like I'm at a good place where I'm like able to have like some routine. And to me, that's just like a really big part of like self-care.
Totally.
So I think that those are my sort of top things right now.
I love that. That's a great toolbox, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I am so happy that you're here with me today. I feels like kind of like full circle moment for me.
Me too. It's really good. Well,
we've come like, a long way, baby.
I was like, I'm coming on.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have podcasted in the past. So I definitely was like, let me see what Nikki thinks about this. Cause I was like wondering if you felt like you just had like a good taste in your mouth about it or a bad one. So
a good. When you said that to me, I was like, oh, duh, no brainer. Like you would be so good for this. Cause even this conversation's been amazing. Also, we have conversations like this all the time, you and I. So to me, it felt like, this is like you're such an easy person to conversate with. Also, going back to like the YouTube videos, which everyone should go and watch them.
Everyone, check them out.
But like you were
plug in that YouTube.
Like you were so good in that scenario. I knew nothing about any of that. When you watch them, I'm so awkward on there. I am, because I was not comfortable in that space. But your background and everything that you have done, like leading to where you are now in your life, I feel like has led you up to being such a good, like safe and comfortable environment to like share and talk with.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. And you know what? It wasn't the thing then, but hey, you know, it prepares you for something in the future. So I think we'll end on that note. And thank you so much for being with me.
Thank you for
Bye.